Hello YouTube. The splendor of Bulgarian archaeology is often forgotten, and only ancient Egypt and Greece are talked about. Nevertheless, the history of this Eastern Balkan state spans thousands of years, and several powerful civilizations once called this place their homeland. And I want to bring your attention to this land and very interesting past that it has had, and maybe one day you will be able to visit. It's one of the loveliest places, in my opinion, on this planet. Today the Bulgarian land is simply replete with ruins and treasures, and you will be able to see them. Even in the depths of the Black Sea and on the islands of Bulgaria, there are many unusual finds. The Thracians and their culture represent one of the most fascinating mysteries in the history of Europe. The mention of the Thracians usually brings to mind the name of Spartacus, who led the slave revolt in ancient Rome, or episodes of Homer's Iliad, or gold treasures discovered in the lands of southeastern Europe. Today, these lands are located within the borders of Bulgaria, Greece, and the European part of Turkey. And although the people of Thrace left their cultural heritage in European countries, strong threads have long linked them with Asia, and this is fascinating history. Back in the 8th century BC, the Thracians crossed a narrow strip of water that separated them from Asia Minor. Thus, they lived at the junctions of two continents, open to the influence of both East and West. Undoubted traces of their presence are found in the most ancient archaeological slayers of Troy. I want to tell you about very interesting archaeological finds that were made on the territory of Bulgaria and surprised scientists, and I think few people in the West or the Orient or other parts of the world know about them, but let me bring you some light to it. One was the chariot with horses. Very interesting. In 2008, a group of archaeologists discovered a wooden chariot buried in ancient Thrace, Thracia. It's in modern Bulgaria, as I said. What is most curious, two horses were buried with this chariot, which seemed to continue dragging the chariot even after death. Dog bones or canine bones were also found nearby. The owner of the burial was discovered only a year later. Next to the chariot was a brick tomb, inside of which rested a man who was buried about 18 to 2000 years ago. The items found in the tomb, armor, gold rings and coins, as well as a silver bowl with the image of Eros, the Greek god of love, suggested that this man was a Thracian nobleman or leader. This kind of ancient burial is often found in Bulgaria. The tradition of elite burials originated 2500 years ago and reached its heyday in the Roman times, about 2100 to 1500 years ago. Now, the mysterious era. Although Bulgaria is full of chariot burials, from time to time more mysterious graves are found. In 2017, museum workers unearthed an antique Odeon in the city of Plovdiv. That's an ancient building that was built here by the Romans for artistic performances. Among the ruins of this ancient Odeon, a team of archaeologists discovered a grave. Thanks to the ceramics found in it, the find was dated to the 11th to 12th centuries. A person of unknown gender with an arrow in his or her chest was buried in that grave. Unfortunately, the bones have been mixed for thousands of years. This made it difficult to determine what the arrow was doing among them. One of the theories or hypothesis says that the weapon was solemnly placed on the chest of the deceased. It was a well-known ancient funeral rite. But it may be that the person was mortally wounded and no one bothered to pull out the arrow before the burial. Now, something very interesting about ancient animals. Today's livestock comes from dangerous wild bulls, which were called Bos primigenius. These animals could weigh up to 1,100 kilograms, and they had deadly horns. The last representative of this species died in Poland in 1627, and in Bulgaria the Bos primigenius was considered extinct since the 12th century. In 2017, during excavations in the famous Rurcla fortress, animal bones dating from the Middle Ages, 13th to 14th centuries, were found. Among the remains of domestic and wild animals, the remains of the killed Bos primigenius were also found. By that time, the once abundant herds of wild Bos primigenius, as scientists believed, existed only on the territory of Poland, Belarus, and Lithuania. Well, thanks to the remains found in Rurcla, Bulgaria now can be added to that list. Most likely they were massively hunted at that time. Unfortunately, this is what humans do in many cases. But this was a magnificent animal. Look, just take a look at the depictions that we have. Now let's go on to the Golden Mask discovery. Like Egypt, Bulgaria has its own Valley of the Kings, but instead of tombs filled with pharaohs, the landscape of Bulgaria is replete with Thracian mounds. But in 2004, archaeologists made a discovery that they claim can compete with the treasures of the Greek warrior ruler Agamemnon and Tutankhamun. More precisely, with their funeral masks. During excavations in the valley, a team of scientists found a huge tomb. It was built of 6 stone slabs with a total weight of almost 12 tons. A special excitement was caused by a gold mask weighing about 0.45 kilogram found inside. It was a unique find from the time of the Thracian culture, which flourished 2,400 years ago. The funeral mask and the huge tomb show that the Greeks and Egyptians were clearly not the only great ancient civilizations. Indeed, during its heyday, the people of Thrace ruled modern Bulgaria and owned territories in Macedonia, Romania, Turkey, and Greece. But then there is a 2,000-year-old ship. In 2,000 years, any ship sunk in the ocean will be destroyed. But a real miracle happened to one of the Roman ones. In the Black Sea near Bulgaria, among the wrecks of 60 ships of different eras, a very well-preserved Roman ship was found. And this ship, found on the Bulgarian shelf at a depth of about 2,000 meters, even the mast, rudders, and parts of the rigging have been preserved. The researchers even found a 2,000-year-old rope used to ship amphora in the bow of the ship and cooking utensils. The rarest find was the capstan, a deck device used to move heavy loads. Previously, it was seen only in ancient drawings. The reason why the ship, like most other vessels, was perfectly preserved is due to the fact that there is no oxygen in the water of Black Sea, down below. Organisms that normally feed on wood cannot survive deeper than 150 meters. And that's why there'll be more discoveries. I know from the Ukrainian experiences during the Soviet times, and I spent some time on the Black Sea, which you can find out about in my other videos too. Now let's talk about the oldest city in Europe. Found in 2012 in the northeastern Bulgaria, the oldest prehistoric city in Europe was home to salt production specialists. Locals once evaporated spring water for the production of salt bricks. Since it was an extremely valuable commodity, salt mining could make the city a target for robbers. Therefore, it's not surprising that archaeologists have discovered an impressive stone wall around the settlement built between 4700 and 4200 BC. The need to protect the sources of salt could be the reason that the city needed such high stone fortifications. In any case, the wall is a unique feature of prehistoric southeastern Europe. The city's population of about 350 people lived in a two-story houses, used ritual pits, and buried the dead in small cemetery. Although the city existed 1500 years before the ancient Greek culture, it may have belonged to some kind of civilization using mining. In Bosnia and Romania, there are similar salt sites in which miners worked, also extracting copper and gold in the Carpathian and Balkan mountains. Very interesting about Carpathian mountains too, but I'll leave it for some other videos. Now I want to talk about the Golden Book of the Etruscans, and I told you in some of my other videos about this very mysterious people of the ancient times. When an anonymous patron gave the book to the National Historical Museum for Bulgaria, scientists almost fainted. It turned out to be not only the oldest book in the world with stitched pages, but it was completely made of gold. Even more mysteriously, the book was written in a long-lost language. Its authors are considered to be the Etruscans, a mysterious civilization that still remains an enigma to scientists. The book consists of only 6 pages, each of which is equivalent to 24 carats of precious metal. The creator added illustrations of mermaids, harps, horsemen, and soldiers. The history of the discovery of this book is no less mysterious than the Etruscans, who were eradicated by the Romans in the 4th century BC. The patron claimed that he found the book in his youth, and at the time of the donation he was 87 years old. During the digging of a canal or channel in southwestern Bulgaria, a grave was discovered. The man noticed a unique golden artifact inside it and kept it for 60 years. Experts have confirmed the authenticity of the manuscript and determined that it was created 2,500 years ago. In other collections around the world, there are about 30 sheets that resemble books from the Golden Book, but none of them are stitched. The cover and pages of the manuscript are made of the 24-karat gold and are bound together with 2 rings made of the same metal. The unique technique of the jewelers testifies to the high skill of the manufacturers. The book is small. The size of the gold sheets is like 5 to 4.5 centimeters. The total weight of the masterpiece barely reaches 100 grams. According to experts, the gold sheets contain a text related to the local religious and philosophical school of thought based on the cult of Orpheus that came from the Greeks. In addition to the text, the pages are decorated with engravings of warriors, horses, mythical creatures, and string musical instruments. The fact that the object made of the precious metal was placed in the grave testifies to the wealth of the deceased and quite possibly his belonging to this cult. Unfortunately, the thread of the Etruscan language is lost after the Roman invasion in the 4th century BC. Most of the artifacts with Etruscan writings are fragmentary and short, which significantly complicates the deciphering of the golden texts. Therefore, the discovery of this text, relatively long and presumably complete, is very important for the world's science and cultural heritage. The precious metal manuscript is kept in the National History Museum in Sofia, and if you are in Bulgaria, I suggest you visit that museum. The antique item was donated by the man, like I said, who wanted to remain anonymous. Let's look at his story from another angle. According to him, he found the ancient writings during construction work near the Struma River in one of the burial sites. The lucky man discovered the priceless artifact. He was a young soldier, and 60 years later, he decided to give it as a gift to the museum. Due to the durability of the yellow metal, the ancient book is perfectly preserved. Gold is practically unaffected by time and external factors. It doesn't oxidize and does not deteriorate. Therefore, items made of this noble metal often remain in their original shape until our times. There is something else very interesting when it comes to archaeology in Bulgaria. The Thracian tomb near the city of Pomoria in Bulgaria, among vineyards and orchards. This is a man-made mystery. Called the Thracian tomb in Pomoria or the Doomed Stone, this structure is a semi-cylindrical vault with a hollow column in the middle, which gradually expands towards the top and eventually passes into the outer walls. It is estimated that the tomb was built between the 2nd and 4th centuries AD. There are also signs that there used to be a spiral staircase inside the column. Experts were unable to establish the real name of the structure and how it could have been built with such accuracy thousands of years ago. When the study of the tomb began at the end of the 19th century, Czech brothers archaeologists Karel and Herman Skorpil made several drawings and notes about the structure. They assumed it was a tomb, like most historians would do. However, some researchers believe that this actually is a mausoleum built as a monument to some hero of those times. Research continues to establish the real purpose of the ancient structure and who built it. Look, in the early years of our era, the heavy burden of Roman rule fell on this warlike and freedom-loving people of Thracia. Resistance to the Roman conquest was long and accompanied by manifestations of desperate bravery, and we learn about it from Roman literary sources. For example, from his native land, which now forms part of southwestern Bulgaria, the Thracian Spartacus led the greatest slave uprisings in history, and I've read a lot about Spartacus since my youth. He was like a hero to me. But I do want to bring you in the future another insight of who he might have been. But I will need a special video about it. I really want to do it. It's very interesting. Look, over time, many Thracians began to serve in the Roman army and in the administration. The nobility retained their privileges and their possessions. This is evidenced by numerous inscriptions. A Thracian villa castle near Stara Zagora and burial grounds of the period of Roman rule. But the spirit of Thracian culture was preserved, and next to the magnificent temples of the gods of the Greco-Roman pantheon, temples of Heros the horseman, the most beloved and revered deity in Thrace, continued to exist, scattered throughout the Thracian lands. Like his followers, he was a hunter and a warrior. He was credited with power over earthly and otherworldly worlds, and he was the god of fertility and death. His female incarnation was the goddess Bendis, a forest huntress, who can be compared to the Greek Artemis,